this video, we're going to talk about sources of data and why understanding the source of your data is critical to understanding any data analysis that was done on that data. Right. So I'm going to talk about this first using an example from NPR. The name of this story, if you Google it, here's the website down here at the bottom. If you were to Google it, you could Google campus rape reports are up, and there might be some good in that. That was the name of the article that NPR ran in 2014. Okay, so what we see here on the y-axis is the number of on-campus sexual assaults reports at four-year colleges, and from 2004 to 2012. From 2004 to 2012, we see a very steep incline, and the point of NPR's story was to talk about this incline and to basically, to not just look at this as what it is, which is, if you just look at this blindly, you might say, oh, wow, there's a lot more sexual assaults happening on campus, right? This is not good. You would think that maybe, but the point of NPR's story is, if we actually think about this data, women, it appears, are actually more likely to report that they have had a sexual assault in 2012 than they were in 2009, and you have to read the article. It's a very interesting article, or listen to their article, or listen to the interviews that they had. Suggests, it's very interesting that it suggests that this incline may be a good thing, in the sense that college campuses are providing an environment where women are more willing to open up and discuss these horrible incidents than they were before. Right? So understanding that may be happening may change your mind. Maybe back then, the incidents of rape were just as high, or perhaps even higher than now. You really have to understand that where this data is coming from to understand that this incline may not just be as it appears. So when you're thinking about your sources of your data, there are these one basic question that you want to ask, and then you can think of these like four basic groups of different possibilities. So does the sample represent the population? That is really your key question when you're thinking about the source of the data. Okay, so when you're asking, do these women who reported their, sexual assaults, do they represent the all women? So when you're thinking about these subgroups, we have voluntary response, right, and non-response problem, wherein women you don't feel comfortable reporting, so they don't. Right. So this is the main problem with this NPR data. Is the main problem is that you have a big non-response problem, and so you can't just look at the statistical analysis that's done on that data at face value. Okay. Voluntary response, it's a very big problem in data now, and in collecting data. For example, if you were to go around and ask, a lot of surveys that ask about, maybe abortion rights, people who have strong opinions are more likely to respond, right? So the people who have, maybe haven't really thought about it as much, aren't likely to respond, and so what you'll see in your survey is that people strongly agree or strongly disagree. There's not going to be many people in the middle, right? So that's going to be a misrepresentative of the population. All right, another thing you should think about is oversampling a subset of the population. So, are you randomly sampling from everyone in the population, or is for example, if you're interested in who's going to win the next presidential election, right? If you only do a sample in Maryland, well, that's going to be problematic, right? Presidential elections are happening on the, if you're in the U.S., they're happening on all states, right? So you need to consider whether or not the sample, represents the population, and that every member of the population had an opportunity to be selected, right? This is why it's so important for you to understand what is your population. That is the first thing that you need to understand, right? In the case of the NPR data, the population is all women that attend four-year colleges, right? Not all women who attend four-year colleges are going to report whether or not they've had a sexual assault, right? So that's why the ones that did report are not necessarily representative of the population. Okay, so another thing you should consider is sampling friends and peers, right? So this is a big thing. On a lot of research comes out of college campuses, and a lot of people in different disciplines will be interested in maybe answering some sort of sociology question or psych question, and they'll just go around campus and they'll ask people there for their response. But if then you want to interpret that response based off of maybe all people, this is the opinion of all people, right? It doesn't really make sense to do that, because it's that those would just be college students that you have in your sample. So if you're interested in knowing, say for example, how many people have what the percentage of people have aggressive feelings towards the color orange, right? College students, say, is interested in knowing that. They go out into their college campus and they ask a bunch of people, how many do you feel aggressive towards the color orange or no? And then if you try to interpret those results back to, well, this is the percentage of people who have this feeling towards orange, well, not really. It's just the percentage of the people at your school, right? Okay, and then lastly, you need to consider it with the sample size. Really important. If you only sampled 10 people, you want to think about that much differently than had you sampled a few hundred, right? If the report of sexual assaults, if that only came from 3 campuses versus if it coming from maybe hundreds of campuses, you would think about those numbers slightly differently, right? You would not want to interpret too deeply a sample that was too small, right? You would want to be cautious about your interpretation of those data coming from a sample that is rather small.